to know enough. Too old to play the part, too cool for showing up. Too dumb to say what's smart, so I'm a substitute waiting for the game to start. But I ain't trying to get played like change your heart. And may I park and find me another ride. I'm letting Florence tell you how I feel inside.
So, there are many people who think there are just so many different competing worldviews, and that's true to an extent. But in reality, there's only two ways you can look at how reality is. And what do I mean by that? So, without having like a specific term for it, the idea would be accidentalism versus intentionalism. Now, accidentalism says that we arrived here by chance, by accident. Everything's chaos, everything's always in flux. And then they'll go on and tell you about how much meaning there is in the world and pontificate about these ideas of grandeur that they have about how their life is meaningful. And now how they derive meaning from a meaningless accident that we're just here and we just popped up into existence, I don't know. But that's what people will do. They'll try to tell you we arrived here through an accident and everything just happened and here we are. We're in everything since the Big Bang or whatever. There was no cause of that. It just poofed into poofed into existence, popped into existence, something from nothing. Aristotle calls nothing nothing is what rocks dream about, and I kind of agree with that. Now, how people can derive, like if you spill your drink, there's no meaning to that. Like, yeah, you spilled your drink, but like trying to derive some sort of meaningful content from an accident is illusory. It's impossible. But people try to do that all the time. Now, on the flip side of that, accidentalism, you have intentionalism, which implies telos or purpose. So if there is a purpose, then that would imply that there is meaning, which would also imply that someone created it. There is a purpose behind the creation of the universe, of reality, whatever. And the only way you get that is to have a purposeful creator. Now, one could argue and say, well, maybe that creator is, playing a trick on you, or is, you're in some sort of, he's got you in some sort of matrix or whatever. But then I would implore you to, research the Gospels and do that. But like, at least in some form, you could say there is some sort of meaningful content if there is a creator behind the universe. To imply that you can derive truth from an accident, like how would you know that your thoughts are, have any purpose or have any meaning when they arrived here by an accident and everything's constantly in flux? You would have to presuppose that you're deriving meaning and truth from an accident. Here we are, everything's constantly, in flux, everything is constantly, the universe is constantly expanding or contracting, however you want to look at the, whatever the newest scientific theory is. But the idea is it's impossible to derive meaning from a meaningless void that just happened to pop into existence. Now we can pretend that, there is some sort of meaning and we create our own meaning, but that's just an illusory thing. It doesn't really exist, right? I mean, in an ultimate sense, we can say that, we do things for the good. We open the door for a lady, at the supermarket. But at the end of the day, that we're all gonna die, and a million years from now, that's not even gonna. It has no effect on anything in an ultimate sense, right? However, if there is some sort of purpose, if there is a designer, then that would imply that he has some sort of design and purpose in mind. So, yeah, I guess that's just my thoughts. Those are really people think there's this infinite way to view reality when in all practical matters, it boils down to two things. Either you think we arrived here, by chance, by accidents, or you think that there is intent. You think that there is, and to imply intent implies a creator behind, a mind behind that. So, anyways, these are just my thoughts. Might have went too long on that, but if you like it, cool. If you didn't, well, maybe you like the next one. Intent versus accident.